Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to be sewing the Nora bag. This one is the improved version as it has flap instead of zipper. And guys, let's get right into it. So first we're going to draw the line of the bottom on the main panel using the dotted line on pattern piece B. We're going to use our ruler to join those marks. And then we are going to bend the sleeve interfacing on those lines, of course with the adhesive side facing out. So it should give the shape of the bag like this. Then we move to the main panel itself, and then we draw 3-4 inch line all around the edges, or you can use your interfacing to do that. And we're going to fuse or glue the interfacing to the main panel, and then we fold the edge of the main panel to meet the edge of the interfacing, and then we cut the edges that pokes up. Now I'm installing my purse fit. The marks to do that is already on pattern piece B as well. Step 2, the handle panel. Now this one has two alternatives. If you want to use the alternative one, you have to use your pattern piece D1, and you will need to use double-sided tape or use glue to fold in the edges of your handle panel so that you do not have raw edges. However, if you do not mind the raw edges and maybe you want to use edge coats to give your edges a professional look, you can go for piece D2, which is the alternative 2. So in this video we are going with the alternative 1. We do not want raw edges, so we're going to apply glue on the wrong side of one of the handle panels. We can also use double-sided tape, and then we set one of the handle interfacing centered on it, and then we're going to fold the edge of our handle panel to the edge of the interfacing, and then we use glue or double-sided tape to hold that down in place as well. Now the outer edge is done. We're going for the inner edge. What we do with this is we cut a small notch of like 1/8 inch deep, and then ½ inch apart. You do not have to measure it, just use your instincts because it will still be very good. Now we're going to fold that to the edge of the interfacing as well, as I am doing in this video. So it's all done now, and then I will repeat the same thing for the remaining 3 handle panels and the remaining 3 handle interfacings. Now at this point, if you're using alternative 2, you will need to skip step B to C and then continue from step E. So we'll take 2 handle panels, strong sides together, we match the edges and clip them all in place. We're going to set the pattern piece E on the panels you just clip together and transfer the A marks to it. Now we're going to sew the larger parts from one point A to another point A. We're going to do this on the outer and inner edges. Now for the alternative 2, This is the point where you might have to use edge coat if you have one on the raw edges. And then we're going to repeat the same step for the second handle panel. I didn't back stitch it, I just pulled the threads to the back to tie them off. Again, set the pattern piece E on one of the handle panels and transfer the B marks, making sure you align the A marks to where you initially indicated them. Now lay the main panel right side up and center that handle panel on it by setting the B mark on one short edge. Now I'm using glue. You can use double-sided tape to keep that in place so that it doesn't shift around as you sew. Then I'm going to sew the inner and outer edge, starting from where I stopped when I sewed the marks A to where I started from. I'm going to tie that at the back and repeat the steps for the other handle panel. Okay, so optionally you can use super glue or any other glue that can hold really well to attach some rhinestone on the handle panel, just to add some beauty to the bag. You can also use rivets or Chicago screw to achieve the same effect. If you're going to use super glue, please test the super glue on some scrap of the pieces first to be sure it doesn't damage your material. So this is what it looks like when we are done. Now the flap panel. Center the flap interfacing on the flap panels and fuse or glue them in place. Now install the main magnetic snap on one of the flap panels using the mark indicated on pattern piece H. Okay, at this point, fold the edge of the flap panel to meet the edge of the interfacing. You can use glue or double-sided tape to hold it in place. Now hold the two flap panels wrong sides together and then use clips to hold them in place. Sew all the edges with a 1/8 inch seam allowance. Now set the flap panel on the main panel and sew it as I am going to do now. As you're sewing, please stop sewing 1 inch from the top of the main panel. Side panel and connector. Okay, so on the wrong side of the connector, draw a line down the center of the long edge. You can use double-sided tape or glue to fold the long edges to meet those lines, the line. Now center the side interfacing on the wrong side of the side panel and fuse or glue it in place. Flip the side panel to the right side and mark the line for the connector as indicated on pattern piece F. Now use your preferred cutter to cut through that line. The line is 1.5 inch from the top edge. With the side panel right side up, take one connector wrong side up and pass one wrong edge through the slits up to 3/4 of an inch. So now I'm going to use my river to hold all that in place. I'll repeat the same thing for the second side panel. I'm going to hold the bottom corners of the side panel like this and then sew it with a 3/8 inch seam allowance. And of course you have to trim down that seam as I'm doing right now. It should look like this after trimming. Now fold the exterior to the edge of the interfacing. It shouldn't be on top of it because we do not want the interfacing in the seam allowance. Now cut the bit that pokes up on the top edges. Now we're going to take the exterior panel and one side panel, then we'll match it wrong sides together. I'll clip it in place. I will sew around the entire edge with 1/8 inch seam allowance. And at this point, we're going to install the female magnetic snap using the male magnetic snap that is already installed as guide. There is no specific measurement for this because the flap is round. So this is what our bag looks like up to this point. And this is the time to do your zipper and slip pockets. Video for the zipper and slip pockets is linked in the description below. I'm going to draw a line 3/4 inch on the top edge of the lining panels, and then we'll match them right sides together and clip both the side edges and the bottom edge. Now we're going to sew this with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Then we'll match the bottom and side seam and the corresponding side seam now, and then clip them in place, then sew with 1/4 inch seam allowance. Now to assemble the exterior, we're going to fold the edge to meet that line, the edge of the lining to meet the line we drew, so that the edge will become a folded edge and not raw edge. Then we tuck it in so that they are wrong sides together, as I'm doing right now. Then we clip the entire top edge. Now we're going to top stitch around the entire top edge with a 1/8 inch seam allowance. Please note that top stitching can be a bit tricky if you do not have a freehand machine or a cylinder hand machine. But if you don't have either of these, it's no reason to panic. All you have to do is top stitch the bag from the lining side with the exterior against the bed of the machine. The lining and the exterior will need to be lined up accurately at the top. And to keep an even top stitching, take your time, keep checking as you sew to ensure your seam allowance is accurate. Also remember to keep your handle out of the way while you are sewing. Now insert a swivel hook on each end of your chains, and the long strap is all done. Insert or install this chain onto the D-ring on your bag, and your bag is ready. We have come to the end of the tutorial. Thank you for watching. Bye.